Hello and welcome back to Aiding Your Game, a web series where we are discussing game aids and their impact on the tabletop gaming community. We wanted to change things up a little bit and talk a little bit more about where to begin with gaming before you can really dive into some of the game aids. Knowing where to start, how to start, is going to be a big important decision in your tabletop experience. So let's jump right in. And welcome to another adventure in aiding your game. So as mentioned, we are changing up the aspect a little bit. Rather than focusing solely on the game aids, we'll be augmenting our discussions with game aids. Today we wanted to talk a little bit about one of the questions posed most frequently online that we observe. And of course, this is our opinion, and all of the content in these videos is based on our opinions. But one of the questions we see most often asked is, how do I begin? With the rise in popularity in tabletop role-playing game, it's not as taboo as it once was. It's not as secretive and shady as it once was. And more people are able to enjoy tabletop role-playing game as a pastime and hobby, which is absolutely incredible because the growth and development of the community has been phenomenal to witness. With the probably most posed question, how do I begin? We want to tackle this a little bit in a little bit different light. There are hundreds of thousands of hours of video content on how to be a better player, what do the dice mean, how can I enrich my story. So many resources out there that we're going to take in this next leg of our series kind of a bottoms-up approach on getting into tabletop role-playing games. So I hope you enjoy this content, and of course make sure that you subscribe, like, follow, and of course check out our website, Facebook, and all the other content that we have. Diving right in, let's talk about where do I begin. This can mean a lot of things for different people because as you are getting into the hobby of tabletop role-playing game, the opportunities around you are going to vary based on your location. If you're in a very urban location, there's going to be plenty of opportunities in different gaming stores, in different online communities. If you are more rural, a lot of the burden of gathering the gaming group and getting a gaming group put together is very well could fall on your shoulders, and you may have a much harder time finding people who are sharing in the same interests as you are. So we're going to take kind of a middle of the road approach and say if you live near a decent population center, there is most likely a gaming store nearby. Of course, the gaming store is not the end-all be-all. There are opportunities to find people online. So one of the best opportunities if you are near a center with a good amount of people is, of course, checking out your local gaming store. There are lots of things you can do there to start finding players. Most of them will allow you to post that you're looking for a game or looking to put together a gaming group. Many of them will have some type of social media where you'll be able to post an interest in looking for other players or gamers or putting together a group. If you are putting together a group, it's good to know what you're willing to really accomplish. Are you wanting to GM or just play? Of course, that's going to really dictate what you're looking for and how you post that up. Now, fast forward and say that you have found a few people who are interested. The next leg of that adventure really becomes kind of finding a rhythm and putting together the where are we going to game, when are we going to game, and how is everybody going to participate in that experience. So generally the where can be a multitude of options. You can play at most local gaming stores. Someone can volunteer their space, whether it's at a home or an office. The when becomes a very important piece. We see a lot of posts saying that it's hard to keep a group because everybody has life happen. Nobody can make their sessions. We have to constantly change. And that is a very challenging aspect of it. I think one of the benefits is really establishing, even if it's for a short period of time, just a number of weeks or months, I think really establishing that when is important. Even if you're looking at a block of time of just a few weeks or a few months, really establishing a time of this is what our game night is going to be and in this time slot. It's very important because it sets that expectation that people can plan around, and while emergencies and other situations can come up and detract from that time slot and day that you've chosen, it's easier to plan your life when you have set scheduled opportunities of engagement. That really is one of the basic fundamentals, is establishing the importance of consistency. Now, as you're putting together this gaming group and establishing who's going to be able to play, who's going to be taking what roles, and where are we going to be playing and when, a lot of those aspects generally are going to fall to whoever your GM or DM will be to set and follow up and manage and maintain. So that role definitely comes with a larger burden than the players. Once you really begin to define that role and fill in those blanks to answer those questions, that's where a lot of people get discouraged and detracted, because whoever's taking that role of the GM, they do begin to put a lot more time and effort into the game and the gaming opportunities. And this is where a lot of people can actually fail and struggle the most. The expectations can be very high, that they want a multi-year campaign and they want to really establish a set play style that's popular. And while some of these hurdles are actually fun to overcome, they can be very challenging in and of themselves. Starting again at the basics, if you have taken on the mantle of being that GM position, again, stepping back and not planning for the 20-year campaign is going to benefit you greatly in the long run. We at Green Oaks RPG Game Aids, we really want people to be able to approach gaming in a very similar way to how I game or got into the community. Back then, it was very easy to create a fantastical character and meet up for an adventure. Once you've really established how to answer those questions of where, when, how, and who, that's when things really start shaping into a gaming community or a gaming group. While this can take a little bit of time and you can have some frustrations along the way, don't give up, because it will only get better from here. That's really the basic starting point of forming a gaming group. One of the big key pieces that I tell people in my interactions, especially online, is always set yourself up for achievement. Don't plan to get a group of 20 people who are going to game with you 3 nights a week for a 20-year campaign. Go into it with very low expectations so that as you make those achievements, you're actually succeeding more than you are failing. With any type of a tabletop role-playing game, especially a new one, as you're putting it together or joining and becoming part of it, having lower expectations allows you to build in opportunities for more achievement and more satisfying gaming. With any of the tabletop experiences that I've had, I've caught myself having high expectations and getting discouraged, and that's a big reason that we're putting this video series together. So let's talk a little bit about starting small and growing big. So now you've got a group of people, you've got a time slot selected, you know where you're going to be playing, and you're ready to take on that 20-year campaign. Stop. Don't even. When we first started in the early 80s to game, the idea of these long sessions, these long campaigns that stretched out many years, were not even a concept for us, and that was great because it took a lot of the burden off. And I encourage new people into the game to think that way as well. It's fantastic to come up with a character or a story idea and utilize it, but there again, don't plan on something that may not come to fruition. Start small and build it into something bigger. One of the items that Green Oaks RPG Game Aids has is what we call a campaign binder that we sell. Of course, everything will be down below so you can check it out for yourselves. But it's really a starting point for new campaigns, and not just new campaigns, but new gaming groups as well. Whoever's taking on the role of that GM, having some of the basic tools that they can just quickly use and adapt into their own play style or system is really a way for them to keep expectations low but deliver with high content, to build that engagement and make it something that the other players want to be part of and participate with and help build on. To explore this a little bit further, as a GM is working on their story and putting together their campaign, which we hear a lot about online especially, that's something that we want to really strip away and say, don't plan on those long-term pieces. Don't put yourself through the burden if it isn't going to be realistic. Especially with a new gaming group, you don't even know how the players are going to interact and gel with each other, much less take your story and your delivery systems. They may have expectations on you that are not realistic or not in your wheelhouse, which is okay. Everybody plays different. The biggest thing is to keep the expectations on yourself fairly low so that you can succeed and you can achieve. Early gaming, our systems were not designed for multi-year campaigns, though they did turn into those. One of the most fun things was you would put your characters together, you would sit down as a group, and you would be right at the adventure point. You would start with the Palace of the Silver Princess, walking up to the front gates with the glowing aura on either side of the path. It was extremely immersive right off the get-go, so there was no real kind of prep and development between those stories. After a few sessions and you completed the Palace of the Silver Princess, all of a sudden you were facing the next module. Early gaming didn't have that same type of campaign expectation that it does now, because until we played the game for some time, many of the RP elements were not as focused or not as understood and known by us. We still had a blast, and we ended up, our GM was fantastic as we pushed for how can we better equip ourselves and prepare for these adventures. He'd put together these pieces for pre and post session that we could experience those types of things, but he developed a lot of that not only on his own but through learning and time and passion. So it was extremely well proposed from him on how our characters would develop and grow and change in those early years. Now it's really nothing for people to talk about campaigns as if every gaming group should have an ongoing campaign that lasts multi-years. But again, bringing it back to the basics and getting a good focused starting point is our goal in this video. So where do you begin? Answer the easy questions of who are we going to be playing with? That may take some legwork and time, but through posts, through working with your local gaming stations, even through observing people who may have that interest and asking a lot of questions. You can answer that question of who. Where? Well, there again, it will take some legwork and it will take some time, but you can establish the where are we going to be playing. When? Well, that's up to the group, and primarily very important to establish early on. Get something, set it, and stick with it. It may be challenging, but that's a good way to find out who are the most engaged players, who's going to spend time playing, and how can you then utilize those players to augment their experiences. Some players may be fine being the guest star on this series. Some people want to be that central hero. Some people may just want to be a every once in a while guest appearance. All of that's okay and can add great content into your storytelling and your gaming experiences. So don't hesitate to utilize people's scheduling disadvantages as an advantage. And of course, the how, well, a lot of that falls onto the GM. We'll get more into that in the next session when we talk about how to start, because we're going to flip the script a little bit and move off of the players into the gaming group and managing that gaming group. But we hope this video was helpful, and we hope to see more people joining the community. Of course, sharing this video to get others into the community, and of course, bringing more content to life. A tabletop role-playing game has been extremely fun and exciting and engaging for me in my life and my life's journey, and so I'm very passionate about sharing it with you. Of course, check out our other video contents, subscribe, like, follow our page. We do have a contest going on right now. When we hit our first bar of 500 subscribers or followers on our Facebook page, we are going to be giving away a campaign starter pack, which is going to be a campaign binder, a Green Oaks RPG Game Aids t-shirt, as well as some additional content. So check us out, and always ask yourselves, where will your adventures take you?